Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we're going to be doing a first look at the new game. This is the second game in the Fighting Formation series. It is from GMT Games and is designed by Chad Jensen, the late great Chad Jensen. And so this obviously is a posthumous game. It was finished after he passed away, but it's still his design. And this one follows up the first one in the series, which was on the Gross Deutschland division of the Wehrmacht, and that one was based on the Eastern Front and had an expansion for the battles of Kharkov. So this one switches the focus to the United States Army and the Western Front. So let's take a look at the back here. Now, if you are familiar with the series, you'll be pretty familiar with this. As I mentioned, it is the same series. It does have a complexity rating of 6, so slightly above medium, and a solitaire suitability dead on medium at 5. This is a 2-player game. It was designed for 2 players, but it is a game you can play solitaire if you so wish or need to do so. Fighting Formations is intended to be an ongoing series of war games covering World War II tactical combined arms combat at the platoon and squad levels. The purpose of the series is to closely examine different fighting formations in a variety of combined arms and terrain settings at a scale above the 30 to 40 meter level and below the 150 to 200 meter level, using a unique phaseless approach to command and operations. More on that in a bit. Each game in the series will feature a distinct combat unit, highlighting battles in which that unit participated, as well as its particular order of battle and fighting characteristics. So in other words, the unit that, in this case, is the 29th Infantry Division of the United States Army is the focus, and you will have a realistic order of battle and the characteristics of the unit itself, which is a pretty neat concept. So this one, the second title is the U.S. 29th Infantry Division, which presents this infantry division in 14 scenarios engaged versus German forces in France, Holland, and Germany between June and November 1944. 8 scenarios are half map size, 5 scenarios are full map size, and 1 is a small training scenario, giving players a range of engagement sizes to examine formation tactics for both sides. So game flow, this is a key part here. In each scenario, one player will take command of elements of the featured unit while the other assumes control of the opposing forces. These 2 players will alternate giving orders, activating their units on the map for various military functions. Players attempt to achieve victory by moving their combat units across the game map to attack their opponent's units and achieve as many scenario objectives as possible. The degree to which a player succeeds or fails is measured by a scenario-specific victory conditions, be it the destruction of enemy units, the taking of vital map board objectives, or the exiting of friendly units off the opponent's map edge. Orders and initiatives. Each game turn is divided into 10 orders, with each player performing a variable number of these orders. In each turn, the sequence of play is fluid, with orders being given by the active player and reactions being taken by both players depending upon the relative initiative level at any given moment. So the initiative flows back and forth. You give an order, it has a certain cost in initiative, and so your initiative track will move up and down as the game goes on. Rather than continue to read the back of the box, we'll take a look inside at the rule book and go over that a little bit more in depth inside there. But you can see there the counters come in 2 different, well, I shouldn't say 2 main ones for fighting units, but you have other ones, like you have your circle markers and your hexagonal ones, as well as slightly smaller squares. And then you have the double wide rectangular markers, as well as your regular square counters here. Oh, these are counters as well. So these are units. You can see we got an anti-tank gun, we've got a tank, armored car, howitzer. Those are all wide. And then you have your infantry that are typically square. There's some cards in here as well. And this is what the maps look like in general. Very easy to read maps, very, what's the right word for it? Clear, very clear maps. All right, so I'm going to pause now. We'll flip it over. I'll take the wrap off. I'll take the cover off and we'll get right into the components. Okay, so box top is off. Here's the first thing you see when you open the box. It is the series rulebook. So there is a series rulebook, and then there are game-specific rules. This is the series rulebook. It's got a nice dedication here about being to the officers and men of the U.S. 29th Infantry Division who left. It's hard to read here. Who left Tavistock in May 1944 to embark for the D-Day assault on Omaha Beach. We will remember them. Okay, so yeah, game design by Chad Jensen. Got your table of contents right here on the front. So let's pull this out and take a look inside the rule book. All right, introduction, pretty much the same as what's on the back of the box, so I won't revisit that. Got scenarios in here. Here's our glossary, a lot of information here. So you can be clear on what the terminology within the rules are. Okay, here's the core rules, the components. So here's your track display, which is kind of the central piece that you'll be using a lot, aside from the map, of course, where you're going to track things, right? So you've got your order matrix, which is what it displays the cost, and in what I think is a brilliant design move here, what Chad Jensen did is he assigned different initiative costs to each order for each side. So giving a move order, let's say, for the Germans might be cheaper than giving one for the Soviets because of the different command and control of those two different armies. So we'll see the same kind of thing here as well, I'm sure. So it says the order matrix dominating the center of the track display defines the capability of the players to perform the various orders, basic actions of fighting formations throughout the game. Specifically, the matrix determines which orders are available to the players at any given moment via the position of allotted order cubes within its colored boxes. So you seed orders at the start of each game. The chosen scenario will direct the players as how to seed the matrix with order cubes. Then whenever the matrix runs out of cubes, it will trigger the end of the turn, at which time the matrix will be reseeded with fresh order cubes, and that's described in 21.12F. Executing orders whenever an order is not being performed, that is, at the very start of the game or whenever another order is concluded, the player with the initiative is allowed to remove one order cube from the matrix so as to perform a specific order. That's in Rule 30. This order will be either the one listed next to the box from where the cube was taken or any order listed below it. So like I said, the higher up tend to be the more expensive options. So you can pull your cube and not necessarily make the order that's next to that cube. You can pick anything that is of less initiative cost, essentially. Initiative track, so you have a pawn for the initiative pawn, and will move back and forth along the track, that is, towards and away from each player as initiative points are spent during play. The position of the initiative pawn serves to determine which player is eligible to perform the next order. And we have markers. You have your victory point markers. You have your attack total marker, which is a mnemonic device for players to mark an attack's final strength. The reverse is used for attack strength greater than 20. We've got time track for the turn and sudden death markers. There's a sudden death marker that can be on there that determines how likely the game will end once that turn marker reaches a space. So you don't necessarily know for sure when the scenario will end, which is kind of another of Chad Jensen's more innovative design moves here. Reinforcement markers, we have a sniper box, we have an air support box, available and pending command boxes. So command markers begin in the available box where they are available to be placed on the map for immediate use. After spending time on the map, command markers are sent to the pending box where they will wait a turn before being returned to the available box again. So you have a way to make sure that you have to have an order available before you can, or a command be available before you can use it. Command and control track. The maps. So as I said, the maps are very clear. They're not, they're very easy to read. They're not overly complex or anything. They're not fancy. They're very, very usable. I guess there's a better word that it's escaping my brain at the moment. Each map contains a large identification number used to determine which map or maps are used for a particular scenario. Most maps also have a compass used to delineate north, which is used as an aid to setting up initial forces and or reinforcements. You've got your hex grid, your specific type of terrain, which can affect the movement as well as attacks made into or through it. A white center dot used for determining line of sight. That's fairly standard, right? A unique letter number identifier, such as J17 pictured above right there, mainly used for identifying setup areas. Then you have your units. So there are unit types. There are 3 types of units in fighting formations. There are infantry, gun, and vehicle. Infantry are defined by always being on a larger 5/8-inch square counter. Guns are defined by always being on a long counter and having a leg speed. Vehicles are defined as by always being on a long counter and having either a track or wheel speed. Unit stats. So the stats are firepower, always located in the bottom left corner, and is its base strength when firing at an enemy unit. Firepower comes in 2 types, as you might expect. AP for attacking hard units, and HE for attacking soft units. So AP is always shown as a white number with a superscript inside a black box, and HE is a black number with a superscript inside a white box. The superscript denotes the range. When using direct fire, an AP FP can only affect units with armor, as I mentioned above, and an HE FP can only affect units with morale. Range, this is the superscript, okay? We already kind of talked about that. The rate of fire. On the front side of every unit, the one without the white stripe, this is the number within a diamond at the bottom middle of the counter. Rate of fire serves as a trigger whenever the unit uses return fire or op fire. If either attack die is less than or equal to the rate of fire, the unit becomes spent. Okay, so you're not guaranteed to be able to do certain things all the time. Speed. On the reverse side of every unit, the one with the white stripe, this is the middle number along the bottom and gives the number of movement points a unit can spend to move from hex to hex across the map. Speed will always be inside a color-coded box to show which mode of transport it has and thus which column of the terrain chart it will use for its movement point expenditures. Green indicates leg, blue indicates track, and red equals or indicates wheeled movement. Defense is always located in the bottom right of a unit and is its base strength when defending against a direct fire attack. Defense comes in 2 types, armor and morale. Armor is always shown as a white number inside a black box. Morale is a black number inside a white box. When a hex is attacked via direct fire, armor-piercing firepower can only affect units with armor, and HE or high explosive firepower can only affect units with morale. Many guns and vehicles have a superscripted number accompanying their defense if present. This subscript, did I say superscripted? It's subscripted number is the unit's defense value when it is being shot at from any hex within its flank fire arc. Okay, so as is well known by historians and players of war games, units tend to not be as their armor tends not to be as effective, shall we say, when attacked from the sides or the rear. Fire arc, all guns and vehicles have one of either a circle or triangle in the upper right corner of their counter. A circle denotes a loose fire arc, a triangle, a strict fire arc. So basically turrets and non-turrets. Right? Special actions. Some units have 1 or more capitalized letters next to their firepower. These are called special actions. Special actions allow a fresh unit to perform an activity not normally allowed to other units, usually at the cost of discarding an asset or spending it, or rather spending a specified amount of movement points. Here we can see kind of what we were talking about here. So if we take a closer look, here on the left, the bars indicate a squad. 1 would be a squad, 3 would be a platoon. You can see your AP firepower, right? Your armor piercing firepower here in this case on the M10 GMC is a 23. Its range, that superscript, is a 9. Its HE or high explosive firepower is a 15, and its range for that is a 6. Special actions is A. The rate of fire is the number in the diamond there, the 2. And then on the other side, you can see the defense for the two. You've got 21 subscript 12, which means flank. So 21 in the front, 12 on the sides back, and the 15 is its movement. I mean, I'm sorry, it's it's movement. No, it's morale defense. Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. The speed is on the back, apparently. Okay. So the stripe is when it's activated. So you flip it over. And in a lot of games, you flip over a unit when it's taken losses to show its reduced side. In this case, you flip it over when it's activated. You can see the white stripe. The fire arc is a circle, which indicates loose or turreted. And the triangle would be a strict, basically front firing arc, right? Weapon firing arc of a weapon that cannot be traversed. Then you've got 24, 9, and 16-6, which is slightly better because it's activated. And then you can see the armor is also slightly better, although the morale is lower, right? And then the speed is in blue, which indicates this is a tracked vehicle. If it was a leg vehicle, or a leg unit, rather, it would be green. And if it was a wheeled unit, it would be red. All right, so there you go. Sizes here. We already saw that on the counter, but 3 indicates a platoon, 1 indicates a squad. Unit elimination. When a platoon is eliminated, it is replaced in its hex with 2 squads of the same name. So you basically have multiple counters that you would use to indicate that it has been weakened. The owning player places the hit marker that was on the platoon onto one of the replacement squads. Replacement squads themselves are never affected by the same attack that hit their parent platoon. If there was a spent marker on the platoon, place a spent marker on both resulting squads. That makes sense, right? You're just basically breaking it down into squads. When a squad is eliminated, you place it back into the counter mix, place its hit marker back into the draw cup. Unit stacking. Unlike similar tactical games in FF, or fighting formations, there is no limit to the number of units that may occupy the same hex. One exception is the vehicular stacking limit whilst in column, and that's in Rule 24.102. Also, some beneficial fortification markers, such as entrenchments or pillboxes, might limit how many units may stack inside them. And that comes up in the playbook. Okay, unit facing, here you can see front fire arc and flank firing arc right here. Very easily visible there in the graphic. Available commands. So at the start of every game, command markers allotted to each player are placed in their respective color-coded available command box located on the track display or on the time track if reinforcements. Okay, then you can place available commands at any time. You can place any number of their available commands into one or more hexes of the map. While a command occupies a map hex, it is no longer considered available and is instead active. Commands are always placed on the map initially with their mission side face up. At the end of every game turn, all mission commands on the map are flipped to the tactical side, and after exiting tactical command are next sent to the pending box. So you have some hints in here. As you can see, it's in like a light gray text placement. In this case, placement of available command is usually, but not always, done by the active player just after announcing an order, but prior to activating units, or by the inactive player just before making an op fire or return fire attack. Active commands. So some of this I probably should better leave for the playthrough, only because this series has some very innovative and unique rules as compared to other tactical series. So I probably don't want to go through the entire rules. This isn't supposed to be a rules review. This is supposed to be a first look. I get kind of geeked up and excited when I'm doing these, and I start reading everything out loud, but you guys probably don't want to hear that. Some do, some don't. You know how it is. So you've got command stuff here. Then we've got hit markers for when you take damage. Before play begins, all hit markers should be placed into an opaque cup so that they may be drawn at random. So you're going to draw random damage, basically. And then placement, a hit marker is placed on a fresh unit if it suffers a hit during a fire attack or barrage. On vehicle units, a hit marker is placed with its tank silhouette. side face up. On infantry, a gun, you place the hit marker soldier silhouette. So you can see the two examples here. That would be a soldier, that would be a tank, of course. Effects, the circled F symbol indicates the hit unit cannot fire, and the M indicates the hit unit cannot move, basically. And one with both imposes both of the restrictions. So here we have a move, and here we have a fire. Right? Removal, a hit marker remains on a unit until it's eliminated, abandoned, exits the map, or rallies. Place removed hit markers back in the draw cup for immediate reuse. And you've got sighting. Sighting markers represent possible locations of hidden units and or fortifications. These will appear in some scenarios. Goes through how to reveal them, what they mean, hidden forces, placing your hidden forces, your fortification markers, smoke. So we have rules for smoke. Then we have the fate cards. We saw some cards on the back. Those would be the fate cards and asset cards. So you have two types of cards here. And again, we'll go into detail on this when we do the playthrough. Here's our core rules. We've got our sequence of play. So again, the initiative goes back and forth. So it's not like you have your typical do this phase, do that phase, do the next phase, end of turn kind of thing. It's very fluid. And again, we'll go into this in depth when we play. I think you got kind of the basics of it when we were going through the early part of the rules, kind of the introduction, right? So here's game time and how that is tracked, because there is a time track and how this works. And when you reseed and all that stuff for your order cubes, you got a sudden death marker, how that works. Game end, either by a sudden death or alternate game end. A scenario-specific victory conditions may sometimes prescribe an alternate way for the game to end. Victory conditions, elimination points, exit points, objective points, line of sight, always important, how that works in this game. Then you've got terrain, also common element of war games, tactical level war games especially. Cover, line of sight, elevation, crests, vertical, obstacles, blind hexes, hindrances, uphill movement rather, height advantage, open ground, rough, road, building, vehicles and buildings, vehicles in column. So you can have columned vehicles, as you can see here, probably, driving up a road, right? Or maybe across terrain, but you know what I'm saying. Abandoning guns and vehicles, barrage. We've got, for barrage, you've got spotting and accuracy, which you would expect. You can have off-map assets to perform barrages. And if it airs off the map, it's removed with no further effect, and the barrage ends. Okay, pre-plotted fire, smoke barrage, impact barrage, targeting terrain, and how that affects it, impact, bombardment. And then your core rules, the order. So this is kind of the nitty gritty right here of how the order system works. The order system in this game is unique and interesting, innovative, I would say. I remember when the first game came out, there was a lot of discussion about this game versus some of the more traditional tactical games at this platoon level scale, and what was better, and was it realistic or was it gamey, and all that kind of stuff. So it may not be for everyone. Like I said, it is innovative and different, and it may not be everyone's cup of tea, but there are plenty of people who love it. And I think personally, I think it's very well done. And I am very much in favor of multiple ways to get a task done. I think innovative things are always good. Anyway, general rules for that. And again, we will talk about this in depth in the playthrough. How you activate, how you deploy, mustering, unit unactivation, advancement, melee entry and exit, assault rules, assets, fire orders, and how firing works, your attack dice, all this kind of stuff, targeting, determining hindrance, defense totals, melee attacks, melee dice, return fire. Then you've got movement cost, fire arcs and movement, more melee stuff, combined arms movement, column movement, opportunity fire, how that all works, rallying, snipers, and support. And then you have here kind of player aids, right? So you have player aids here, some graphics, and some lists of different things that might help you. Here's a terrain chart. And then on the back, we have the summary of all the orders that you have. Okay, so that's the rules, and that is the series rule book. Then here we have examples of play, and the 29th Infantry Division was known as the blue and gray because it had, I believe it had members from both the Old North and Old South, if you will, from, both parts of the country. So you can see here, there's all kinds of examples in here to help you learn how to play this game, from orders to command and activation, movement, with plenty of images and supporting text, opportunity fire, all kinds of stuff in here. This is great stuff. As you can see, it talks about all kinds of things. And I might do a video just on this to kind of move into the series kind of in a slower way. I would prefer, and this may not happen until May, to do both this game and the first game together, so you can see how the eastern one works on the Russian front, if you will, and how the Western front works. And the system's the same, but the units are different, and I think that will highlight the differences between the three armies, I guess you could say, in this one, because the Germans are common to both, and the German unit, Gross Deutschland, is the titular unit in the Eastern game, whereas this one, of course, is the U.S. 29th Infantry. So this is against the Germans, while the other one is Germans against the Soviets. So I think that would be a good way to see the three different armies. Anyway, rallying, advancing, melee, all the core things are in here. Barraging, you can see cards, and assault. So excellent stuff. Here is the playbook for this particular game, right? So what's in the playbook? Exclusive rules, first of all, as you would expect. Sorry. Got optional rule. There's one for events. Order of battle, so you can see the order of battle for the units. Historical notes, scenario design, sources and reading, suggested reading rather, your credits, your index, and your summary of orders. Right? So you've got exclusive rules here for your components. So there are some components in this one that aren't in the other one, or perhaps are in the other one, but were also in the exclusive rules, because this was intended to cover multiple fighting formations across all the well, maybe not all, but different armies from the Second World War, and maybe even beyond. I don't know what the plans are or were. You got terrain stuff here, craters and railways and streams, tank obstacles, woods. You've got fortifications, bunkers, entrenchments, pillboxes, mines, roadblocks, wire. Special actions, you've got APCR, right? That's a advanced form of armor-piercing ammunition. It's composite. Yeah, composite rigid right here. Armor-piercing composite rigid projectile, had a core of dense hard material, tungsten, surrounded by a lighter shell of aluminum alloy. The overall lighter weight allowed for higher velocity. The kinetic energy of the shot was then concentrated in the core, and hence on a smaller impact area, improving penetration of the target's armor. Right, so you get a little science there. You've got your heat, high explosive anti-tank, flamethrowers, light machine guns. You can see there's a Churchill crocodile here. Smoke munitions, and all kinds of stuff there. And then you've got your various assets. So these come in cards, and they are things you can play on your turn, as you might guess, right? So we'll see these when we play, but there's a whole bunch in here, and it tells you exactly what they are and goes into it. Then you've got your optional rule for events, so that you can have events in your game, which is kind of cool. And then here's the order of battle. So you can see here, right? You've got your division HQ and the commanding officer, Major General Charles Gerhardt Jr., your special troops, your 115th Infantry, which was the 1st Maryland under Colonel Eugene Slappy, And over here, you've got the 116th, which was known as the Stonewall Brigade, Colonel Charles Canham. And you've got field artillery, a couple battalions here, 3 battalions of that. The engineers, your heavy field artillery, your reconnaissance, mechanized cavalry, I guess, your medical, your common weapons and equipment, and then your attached units, which were the armor, pretty much, armor, and you got chemical mortars, and the British 141st Regimental Royal Armored Corps with heavy Churchill 7 tanks and Churchill Crocodile flamethrower tanks. Then you've got your historical notes by Kai Jensen about the campaigns going through what this covers, all the way from Normandy through the West Wall, the final tally, your scenario design by John Foley. Then we've got our credits here. As you can see, game design by Chad Jensen, scenario by John Foley, Kai Jensen and Scott Mansfield did game development, and then all the other pieces in here. I don't want to read everybody's name. If you buy the game, you can see them all right here. Here's some sources and suggested reading if you want to know more about the topics here, and then of course our index and the summary of orders again, as we saw on the rule book. Then we have the scenario booklet. So this will show you all your scenarios. I probably won't go through this in detail, but you can see you've got the forces that are in the scenario. This is the introductory scenario, kind of the training scenario. You can see we've got some M4A1s, the Sherman tank. Got we've got 1 tank, 1 armored car, and these are telling you what hexes they go in: A2, B2, A3, 4, 5, 6. A1, A2, A7, and then your commands are here. So you've got green. So you have various levels of soldier, I guess. We have green, and then 3 rifle platoons. This is also a rifle platoon, but you can see its statistics are slightly worse. You've got some support weapons here. We've got an M1919 machine gun, 2 of those, and a 50 cal. Over here, you've got a Stug 3. Rifle, MG34 machine gun, then you've got another Stug 3, a rifle, and an MG42, and a 3rd Stug, and a rifle, and then the German commands. Deployment tells you what the objectives are, U.S. forces and German forces set up here. Any special rules will be listed in this box. Turn and sudden death markers, right? 12 and 16. Turns count down, I think. Maybe. I don't remember. We'll get into that when we play. It's been a while. Sniper marker, initiative pawn, victory point marker, order cubes, where they go. It looks like it's all of them, 1 through 10. Command radius is US 3, Germany 2. There's that Army differential I was talking about. Air support marker with the US. Asset cards, US gets 4 and 24. Germany gets 49, so only a handful. And no fate card goes to the US. And then a situation report. So that would be the case for all of the scenarios. As I mentioned, I'm not going to show all of those right now. You got to keep some things kind of secret. So we've got some player aids. I grabbed the counter sheet as well. But we saw these in the rule book, actually. So it's 2-sided, right? So here are our player aids. You've got your sighting marker and fortifications here. Our firing arc, the direct fire, 2d10s. How that works: return fire and op fire. Here's special actions on the other side. You've got your accuracy grid for the barrage table. Here's the procedure, and here is the affected piece and what's doing the attacking. You've got fighter bomber, and then mortars, a light battery, mortar battery, medium battery, heavy battery, and super heavy battery. Okay, so that's player aid 1. Then we've got here the terrain effect chart, or they say terrain chart. I usually call it a TEC, right? The terrain effects chart, and you've got different terrain here, plus notes for each and what cover it affords, your line of sight, what it does to that, and then the movement costs for the 3 different types of movement. On the back here, we have the melee tables, which again is laid out similarly to what we saw with the barrage. in a kind of similar way, right? And then here is the time track, which folds out because it's double wide, so to speak. And right here in the middle is the order matrix. So you can see the order matrix goes through 1 to 10, and you see Germany on the left and the US on the right. And you'll see that Germany's list is different than the American list. That represents the differences in the command and control systems, the tactics the sides used, and things like that. So it makes each force in the series different, and that, that's, I think, both realistic and kind of an interesting thing. Here's our time track. You can see it kind of goes in a 3/4 of a rectangle, I guess you could say, and there's this place for a sniper. Here's your end of turn procedure. Down here is the initiative track, right? So you can see right in the middle, if it's on the 0, the initiative goes to the player holding the fate card, okay? And the fate card can change hands, and you can see that goes up to 20 on the US side and also up to 20 on the German side. And then over here, you've got your basic procedures. When you have the initiative, remove 1 order cube from the order matrix, move the initiative marker a number of spaces towards your opponent equal to the number in the row from which the cube was taken. So if you had a cube on 8, because you wanted to do regimental support and draw 3 assets for the Americans, let's say, you would move your initiative marker, the pawn, from 8. You'd move it 8 down from wherever you were on the track here towards the Germans, so to the left. Then you have command and control track, air support, pending commands, available commands. We heard all about that, right? And then there's the used order cubes box. Okay, now let's look at the counter sheets here. So we've got 6 total, right? And so here we have some American units. You can see these are engineers. You can see the ones with the 1 dash at the top left indicates a squad, and then this one would be a platoon. You've got veteran troops here, a whole bunch of them. And then you can see there's some jeeps, there's some green troops as well. And over here we have some British armor, the Churchill 7s, and the Crocodiles, the flame-throwing version. Underneath that we have some American guns, the 57 millimeter anti-tanks. Then we've got the 3-inch guns, the 105 millimeter howitzers, the 155s, and so on. And you've got markers here and all kinds of cool stuff, right? Broken, unconfirmed kills. Of course, they're double-sided. So here's the activated side. Whoops. Activated side with the green, white stripe, rather, for all the same units we just saw. These are wire, I guess. That's kind of cool. All right. Now we look at number 2, more Americans. Here we've got M5, that's the Stuart. And you've got some M4s, which of course is the Shermans. And they're the Easy 8, the E8. So different models, which of course have different statistics here. Really cool, very well developed. Details matter, right? This is a historical game. Details definitely matter. Here is our regular kind of non-green but not veteran rifle platoons and squads for the US. And then there we have our support, the M1919s, of course, and the 50 cals. And then down here you've got your pinned, and on the back you can see the vehicle version for immobilized, unconfirmed kill, events here, event markers, and commands, the hiding C and D, and so on and so forth. All right, number 3 here, crew for guns, I'm guessing, or perhaps guns and tanks, or maybe just tanks. Some more American units. These guys obviously are German. More American units, recon, more damage markers, or hit markers, I guess. More vehicles. We've got some M10s here, and the M8 armored car, as well as the ever popular Mack truck that would tow your howitzers around. right? And then we have the Germans here starting on number 4. So you can see their rifle squads and platoons, the MG-42s. And over here we have the Flakfrling 38. So that's a flak gun on a half-track. Some Pak 43s, some Pak 40s, some Pak 38s, some infantry guns as well. And of course, double-sided. Whoops, some of these are upside down and some aren't. Interesting. All right, well, there you go. So those would be the Germans. And then we have some German vehicles here. So we have the Panzer IV with the skirt on it. And we have some 5s, the Panther, of course. Some Martyrs. And then more flak. The Vespi. More command markers. We've got paratroopers. Right, the Fallschirmjägers. Some MG-34. Right. And last but not least, number 6. Right. Some Volksgrenadier, some veterans, bocage markers, sniper, air support, command radius, some command markers, hiding K and L. You've got your pillbox stuff here, smoke, some blanks, some Jagdpanzer 4s, some Tigers, Tiger 1s. Here's some Stugs. So you've got several of those. And of course, on the back, activated side, all of these guys. All right, so that's the counters. Now we can look at the maps. There are 1, 2. Well, let's see by number here. So this is 1. Then we have 4 here. Here is, I guess, 6, 9. We have a second order matrix, it looks like. Or is this? Oh, this is all on 1. This is kind of interesting. So we have a map that actually has all your stuff right on it. So this is the small map, which, as you can see here, I don't want to pause right now, but you've got your tracks and your matrix on here, and then you've got the actual map itself right here. You can see most of it. It ends right here. That's the last hex. And you can, and then of course you also have your player aids on this one as well. It is double-sided, and the other side is all map. This would be map 2. So let me pause, and I'll widen out the shot so you can actually see this. All right, so here's the whole, this is the entirety of map number 2. So you can see everything. It's got a lot of hedges here, some bocage, I'm guessing. Some fields, you got some town, etc., right? So that would be map 2. We saw the other one on the other side a moment ago. Here is map 1. This is kind of a half map. It's this side. So that's upside down. We'll spin it over. So this is map 1, which, as you can see, is smaller than the full-size map we just saw, which was map 2. So this is kind of a little guy here, but you can see the map, which was done by Chad Jensen. So this is kind of a town, I guess. Then that's map 1. Let's see, that's 8 and 9 and 12. Oh, I didn't look at the other side, right? That's why. So this is map 3. This is the other side of that same map. Right. So you get an idea of what the maps look like. This would, I guess, be 4 and 5. So here is 4. So here you get a better view. That's map 4. And the other side, of course, would be map 5. You have a U.S. entry hex up here, A and B. And then German entry is over here. Here is 6. So here's map 6, a lot of fields. And on the other side is map 7. We'll spin her around here. Map 7, right? Okay. And we have map 8 here. This is another big one. So map 8. This is map 8. It's large. Let me zoom back out. So here's map 8. Zoom out a little more. There. So now you can see the whole thing. That is map 8. On the flip side is map 11. Okay. This seems to be more remote. We got a mine camp over here, lone tank up there. And then you have things down here that will be entering, I suppose. Lieutenant Shaw, the 115th Infantry, the C of the 747th, 175th Infantry, and A of the 747 here. Okay. So that was another double full-size map. Now we've got map 9 here and 10 on the other side. This is another small guy. Okay, we got a river running through, or at least a creek or something. And some bridges, or at least one bridge in, one bridge out, 2 bridges out. We got multiple bridges that are out, I guess, but these are bridging points. Broken bridge here. So this one's intact. The others are all out. I'm sure you have a way to bridge it. And then this is inside a town, it looks like. So this would be number 10. We've got a lot of buildings in here. Kreuzstrasse. So this could be, I don't know, maybe like Aachen or something. Somewhere inside the German border. All right. I think Aachen was later, actually. And I think this is another full-size map. This would be 12. On this side. Yeah, so here's 12, and it's a big one. It's got a nice rail line running through it up here. Some roads. You got a town here called Borheim, right in the middle. Yep. The roads have names. That is a cool touch, right? Here's 13. This one's got a lot of fields on it. Some interesting features on this one. So that is the last map. So you get 13 maps. And I guess 6, well, I guess it's really 5 of them are full-sized. And we have card decks. I typically don't show the cards in the first look. If you want to see the cards, watch the gameplay. So you see Fate card right here. There's 1, and it can change sides. And it tells you right here, right? So immediately after any 1 dice roll is made, you may pass control of this card to your opponent in order to have that roll canceled and re-rolled. Whenever a scenario ends in a tie, such as 0 victory points after sudden death, the player in possession of this card breaks the tie and wins the game. So you want to hold this card, but if you have it, you can use it to cancel out a roll and re-roll it, which is a benefit most players would want to use. So if you have it and the US starts with it, let's say, they may want to use it and then hope that the Germans also have to use it so that they can get it back in case they need it to break a tie. Then we have the US asset deck here, and the German asset deck is probably in here as well. Or actually, this is the German asset deck, right? So the Fate cards on top, you can see the American assets are much greater than the Germans. They have, obviously, late war Western Front, things were very kind of stacked, I would say, in the Allies' favor. Not that it was a cakewalk by any means, but Germans were fighting a multiple front war, and they had the bulk of their stuff out on the Eastern Front. Here's some cubes for the orders as well as the initiative pawn. Here are our dice. You can see there's a bunch of them. Got some 6-siders, some 8s, some 10s and 12s and a 20, a couple 20s as well. So decent assortment. And that is it. That is everything aside from, of course, the bag of baggies. So we will put all this stuff back in the box, right? Maps go back. There's our maps. There's the last map, which actually has the player aid and everything on it. And you do your counters. Everything goes back. The counters pop out real easy because I've actually accidentally sort of popped some of them out just by moving them around here. Right, there's that. Here are our player aids and our track display. And then, of course, the booklets, your scenarios, your playbook, your examples of play, and your series rulebook. And, of course, the box top. All right. So there you go. Fighting Formations, the U.S. 29th Infantry Division, designed by the late, great Chad Jensen. Just came out, like I said, from GMT Games. And as I mentioned earlier, I will be doing gameplay from this. It may be a few weeks out. It's mid-April. I would expect this to be in May, only because of all the other stuff I have going on right now. I want to do this, and I want to do it right. So look for that later on. But for now, that's going to do it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. I'll do my best to answer. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's long, but I hope you got something out of it. I try to do first looks as a true first look and not just an unboxing and look, oh, here's the rule book and here's the counters and so on. I try to go a little bit more in depth than that to make it a little bit more worth your while, because unboxings are a dime a dozen. Everybody does them. So try to stand out if you can, right? Why not? At least give it a shot. Anyway, if you would consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing, that would be awesome. If you are already a subscriber, then you are awesome, and I appreciate it. But yeah, that's it for this one. Thanks again. I'm Joe. This is Hexed Encountered. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.